The Netflix Deathwatch.
Reed Hastings wrote
The Netflix
me.
Deathwatch.
That trickster.
Deathwatch.
What the hell?
The Netflix Deathwatch.
Is a quickster.
Deathwatch.
Angry customers.
Netflix Deathwatch.
Falling stocks.
Deathwatch. The Netflix Deathwatch.
Here's the Netflix Deathwatch for September 22nd, 2011. Scott Welsh is here with me. I'm Rob Booker, and we're taking a look at a stock that has recently been beaten down on news that they don't know how to service their customers at all. And the stock has taken a dramatic beating, lost 60% or more of its value. Some of you out there may be long Netflix and wondering, when the crap is this stock going to come back? Some of you may never have traded Netflix before and be interested in wondering, when is it a good buy? When has this stock gone on sale? Well, almost every day this week, Scott Welsh and I, Boscillator traders, have been watching the Boscillator indicator and looking for a value-oriented opportunity to buy Netflix, which sounds absolutely unreasonably crazy because, remember, they're going out of business, right? They lost like 500,000 customers already. Well, the answer is it's not necessarily the case that Netflix is going completely out of business. Although the stock has been hit hard, and although the company has made some pretty nasty decisions, by looking at the 1-minute chart for a few minutes today, I think we could interest you in a scenario that has been setting up where a stock like this, even something that has had this many problems, starts to look attractive. Scott, take it away. Show us what's on the 1-minute chart. All right, to summarize what Scott had been mentioning, we've been looking at the Netflix stock on the 1-minute chart, and yesterday we looked at it and it had reached a reading on the Boscillator of like 1790, which is extraordinary. Most financial instruments can't get to a reading of more than 300 or 400, and Netflix, in the midst of this controversy, got to 1790. It had been away from the 800-period simple moving average for such a great length of time on this short time frame chart that it was simply likely that it is eventually going to turn around. And Scott mentioned that there was a trend line break impending. We talked about this yesterday. And if we move the chart forward, you can see that Netflix did indeed break that trend line and then continue downward. And any trade that had been taken was going to stop out. Now, you also know, if you'd been following our conversations throughout the week, that we have been waiting from the daily chart. We've been waiting for Netflix to fall, that we weren't necessarily thrilled to trade this immediately, but we were even willing to wait longer. You can see here that Netflix seems to be on the way to the $110, $107 range. It's probably going to hit that area. That's probably going to happen, meaning it's more likely than not to happen. And we really love the thought that Netflix kind of becomes a better value once it reaches or goes below that level. We kind of consider 107 at this point to be the fair value for the Netflix stock based on technical analysis and based on a series of fundamental analyses as well. So Scott, if we go back to the 1-minute chart here and take a look at it again, let me give you a chance to take a look at what you saw after that initial stop out and after we talked about that initial trend line. Well, what we're looking at next is a picture of Netflix on the 1-minute chart where it stops out that original trend line trade that we talked about just a moment ago, but then continues downwards and goes into the mid-120s. This is a giant reversal. That's $175 of value lopped off this stock from a price over $300 just 2 months ago, just 2.5 months ago. Once it gets down into that area again, Scott drew another set of trend lines, one steeper than the other, and the stock went oversold all over again on just a regular stochastic oscillator. It went also oversold on a RSI or a CCI or a momentum indicator. There's a variety of different indicators that you could have watched that would have shown you exactly the same thing. And when it broke that trend line, what we were looking at here is an entry on a steeper trend line around 126, a stop down in the 124.50 or 125 area, so a dollar stop, $1.50 stop, and a target that's a full, Scott, $6 higher, so a 5-to-1 reward to risk, 6-to-1 reward to risk, and those are numbers that we're completely comfortable with. And that's a Boscillator trade on a really unattractive stock that had reached a statistical reading that was just so far overextended that whatever fundamentals were in place, whatever problems Reed Hastings has, sending emails and posting to his blog to Netflix customers, the fact of the matter is that Netflix still had 22 million customers, still had giant amounts of revenue, and probably will ink a deal with most major studios to stream content. And it's possible they won't, but in the meantime, in the short term, buying some time to buy this stock to get back up to the 800-period simple moving average wasn't the worst idea in the whole world. And now, Scott, that it's gone up to that 800-period simple moving average and touched that and reset itself, we're free to see this stock fall to $110, aren't we?
Yeah, now that it's done that in the short term, I don't know what's holding it back.
Right.
All the way down to that 170.
Right. So maybe on the 1-minute chart, the next thing that we would look at is we would look for this stock on the 1-minute chart to reach a reading of 200 on the Boscillator. And then at that point, we'd start planning or taking short sell trades or go long a put on this stock. But that's a conversation for another day if it ever reaches that reading at all. Thanks for being a part of the Boscillator watch list and in particular the Netflix Deathwatch webinar.